Hardware in Bridgeport. Locally owned with knowledgeable people who truly want to help you.
The Elkins girls soccer team starts a big week with an impressive victory. Good afternoon, I'm Joe Mercado with the Sports Minute. For the second straight year, Elkins is ranked as the #1 team in the state. The Tigers knocked off perennial NCAC power Morgantown 1-0 last night at Pony Lewis Field. Heather Saffel tallied the only goal of the match. Elkins is now 10-1, and they will host third-ranked Parkersburg South tomorrow. The Pirates have clinched yet another losing season. The Buccos were upended 5-4 by the Cubs in 10 innings last night. Solomon Torres' wild pitch allowed the eventual winning run to score. Oliver Perez will make his final home start of the season tonight at 7:05. And he won't be coming to the '84 Lumber Classic, but he will be coming to video game systems. The all-new Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2005 game from EA Sports has been released, and many copies are already circulating here at the station. This is the latest in a series of games featuring Tiger's likeness. He was also a key part of designing the game. Among the many features this year, tiger-proofing courses that you can design yourself. Coming up at 6, we'll have a look at this week's high school football SSAC ratings.
Still to come here on News Channel 5 at 5:30. Victims of Hurricane Ivan receive another scare as a gator on the loose rummages through their destroyed property. That story after this.
This public notice is about Neurontin and its link to suicide. Neurontin was not approved for treatment of bipolar or similar disorders. In fact, its use under these conditions may be linked to suicides and attempted suicides. If you or someone you love has suffered these tragedies while taking Neurontin, call Pete Higginbottom at 366-2900. We will register your claim against the manufacturer. Neurontin and suicide may be linked. Find out how. Call Pete Higginbottom at 366-2900 for more information.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I live the Army values. I will never
accept defeat.
I am disciplined, physically and mentally tough.
I am a professional.
I am a professional.
I am the guardian of freedom
And the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am the Army National Guard.
Defend freedom. In the Army National Guard, you can. Visit 1-800-GO-GUARD.com today.
No matter how different two people are, they can agree on one thing: dinner at Bob Evans. And now with new dinner combos, there's 2 of your favorites on one plate. Like sirloin steak and new sizzling shrimp with spicy Caribbean seasoning. Or grilled chicken and salmon drizzled with garlic herb butter. So let us bring you together at Bob Evans. Celebrate the everyday.
Once again at Corwin Ford, we're proud to announce that we've won the President's Award in recognition of outstanding customer satisfaction, a claim only 2 dealers in the entire state of West Virginia can make.
If you could choose your child's school and one of your local schools was in the top 10% of the nation, that's where you would send them. You have that choice in an automobile dealership, and it's here at Corwin Ford.
With service so great, you'd think our prices would be higher, but our new and used vehicles are priced competitively, and you'll get a fair price for your trade-in. I'm Rick Corwin, and I want to be your Ford dealer.
Well, the people in hurricane-ravaged Gulf Shores, Alabama have one less thing to worry about now that Chucky the alligator has been captured.
Chucky is a 12-foot gator that escaped his home at the Gulf Shores Zoo during the onslaught of Hurricane Ivan. After being on the loose for nearly a week, Chucky was rescued from a drainage ditch behind an area bank. Officials thought the gator hunt would take 2 to 3 days, but they snagged him in 3 hours on the first night. Now, Chucky is back at the zoo, and he's resting comfortably in the zoo's bear den until his home can be repaired. I wonder how Chucky and the bears are getting along.
I don't know. That's
Probably not well.
Probably not. Alligators are one animal that I'm really frightened of. I don't go.
Really?
I don't go near water in Florida because.
We've actually had an alligator in here before.
Really?
Not like a wild, like, oh, it's going to eat us alligator, but
like
there's a gator farm or an alligator farm or something close by here, and they brought one in about this big, and I held it.
Okay, I wouldn't hold it, but I could maybe handle that. That's going to do it for us on News Channel 5 at 5:30.
6 o'clock is coming up.
Closed captioning is brought to you by First National Bank. We build individual relationships and communities one person at a time. 3 locations: West Union, Salem, Pennsboro.
Your old car's worth $3,000 on a new Subaru during Wild West Trading Days at Larry Meyer Subaru.
That's a fistful of dollars.
No matter how bad and ugly your car is, you'll get no less than $3,000 on a new all-wheel drive Subaru. $3,000 on Legacy Sedan. $3,000 on Outback. $3,000 on Impreza.
Now that's a fistful of dollars.
$3,000 or more, guaranteed, during Wild West Trading Days.
At Larry Meyer Subaru, where it's all about you.
Yeah, DQ's got great frozen cakes for lots of different occasions. But you got us to thinking, how about cakes for all occasions? Nah, we'll stick to happy occasions. These are perfect for birthdays or any occasion. Delicious soft serve layered with rich fudge and chocolate crunch. It's a birthday wish come true. Do a DQ birthday cake and DQ something different.
This is the Nelsons' new home from American Homes. The only problem is, these aren't the Nelsons. These are the Johnsons. It seems the Johnson family loved the Nelsons' new home so much, they just moved in. Now, we don't recommend you do this. We suggest you visit American Homes this month for our Christmas in September sale and enjoy the lowest prices of the season. Then, this year, you can invite your friends to your house this Christmas. American Homes on the Mile Ground in Morgantown.
I'm George W. Bush, and I approve this message.
On healthcare, President Bush and our leaders in Congress have a practical plan. Allow small businesses to join together to get lower insurance rates big companies get. Stop frivolous lawsuits against doctors. Health coverage you can take with you. The liberals in Congress and Kerry's plan, Washington bureaucrats in control. A government-run healthcare plan. $1.5 trillion price tag. Big government in charge. Not you, not your doctor.
You're watching the News Channel 5 at 6. Live from Television Drive in Bridgeport. Your hometown news starts now.
Well, with just 41 days left until the November election, the city of Clarksburg focuses on preventing voter fraud.
President Bush's daughter stopped in Morgantown today to campaign to the youngest generation of voters.
And we'll hear from outraged parents who say their children's roadside walk to catch the buses putting their lives in danger. Our top story at 6 o'clock, now that we're in the heart of the campaign season, a new initiative aims to prevent election fraud.
Part of the focus makes sure no one tries to buy your vote. News Channel 5's Chad Oliver is here to explain. Chad?
Actually, here we are less than 6 weeks away from Election Day. The plan is called the Voting Integrity Program. It mainly centers on keeping corruption away from the polling place. U.S. Attorney for the state's Northern District, Thomas Johnston, stopped by Clarksburg to announce the new initiative, a plan he hopes prevents voter fraud on Election Day.
So if we get calls, we will follow up on them. If people do try to corrupt this election, we intend to investigate and bring them to justice.
It is a joint effort between the Justice Department, the Secretary of State's office, and the FBI, which oversees any criminal activity. When November rolls around, so too will the memories of the infamous recounts and election trouble in Florida, problems West Virginia hopes to avoid.
As I often say in our office, you know, they had 30 days of lessons on the legal system as it involves elections, and so yes, there is a drawn focus to that.
Certainly, it's a preventive measure. We're doing this, you know, about 6 weeks out from the election to let people know that we're here.
The Voting Integrity Program doesn't focus so much on campaigns between politicians, but more on how to shut the door on Election Day corruption. Here are some actions defined as voter fraud: trying to buy votes, or those people who offer aggressive assistance to those casting a ballot, voting by felons or non-citizens, plus destroying ballots is also considered voter fraud, and finally, people who try and vote multiple times contribute to election fraud. All election officials in the northern region's 32 counties have received information on this program. The Department of Justice set up this toll-free hotline number for people to report any type of suspected voter fraud. The number on your screen, 1-866-241-5062. With your hometown news, I'm Chad Oliver.
Well, with the race for the governor's seat only 41 days away, gubernatorial candidates Joe Manchin and Monty Warner are set to participate in 4 public debates. The first will take place tonight at 8 o'clock in the auditorium of Martinsburg High School. And don't forget to stay tuned to News Channel 5 on October the 6th, where we will broadcast a live debate sponsored by the West Virginia Broadcasters Association that will last from 7 until 8 p.m.
Well, the First Daughters are campaigning in Morgantown to rally support for President Bush.
News Channel 5's Erica Sobchak was there to hear Jenna and Barbara Bush challenge young voters to make it to the polls this November 2nd.
Ashley, it was a very exciting day for WVU Republicans. Both Jenna and Barbara Bush gave speeches trying to sway young voters to vote for their dad before heading to the voting booths. The Bush twins spoke to hear a crowd of eager WVU students today to support their father, President George W. Bush. Jenna and Barbara say their dad, quote, sticks to his commitments when it comes to leading the country. They say they hope students realize just how important voting is in the upcoming presidential election.
And it's really great to be in West Virginia and see all the energy in this state to re-elect our dad.
The only way he can win is with all of your support and help. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. We really appreciate it, and we really appreciate y'all coming to see us today.
I hope that they can maybe alter some people's decisions who aren't quite sure who they want as president.
I came out to support the president's daughters. I'm all about the president, and this is the best way I could do it today.
Students say Jenna and Barbara Bush are, quote, very down-to-earth girls who will make a lot of Democrats think Republican. They also say if you haven't registered to vote, make sure you make it to your local voting headquarters before October 13th so that you can have a hand in changing America. With your Hometown News, I'm Erica Sobchak.
And other news tonight, WVU coal experts are working to make the Mountain State a
Parachutes were invented to save airmen in the event of problems with their aircraft. In the 1930s, several armies began experimenting with them for military operations. By World War II, a new type of soldier emerged, the paratrooper. Today, the 82nd Airborne Division is an essential element of the U.S. Army's Rapid Reaction Forces. During Operation Warrior Sweep in July 2003, it was the 82nd who helped rout out Taliban and al-Qaeda forces from their mountain hideouts in Afghanistan. This operation highlighted a primary mission requirement of the division, the need to be able to deploy a combat-ready force at a moment's notice.
The mission of the 82nd Airborne Division is to deploy anywhere in the world within 18 hours of notification, conduct a parachute assault, conduct follow-on combat operations in support of the national objective. And what that means is the division has the ability to be deployed and inserted into a hostile environment without a secure airfield to support its operations.
With its proud history and demanding mission, the 82nd Airborne has long been considered one of the U.S. Army's elite formations. The 82nd has been able to meet its requirements by depending on volunteer soldiers.
The troopers of the 82nd Airborne Division are twice volunteers. They first volunteer to come into the Army, then they volunteer to become an airborne soldier. He has to pass the test, so to speak, in order to come into the division. First, he successfully passes his basic and advanced infantry training, and then he must go through the grueling airborne school that is part of the United States Army. So that twice volunteer status makes him a unique and highly motivated soldier.
World War II saw the first extensive use of airborne forces. The U.S. Army's best-known airborne divisions in World War II were the 101st Screaming Eagles and the 82nd All-Americans. These early airborne units used two methods of delivery into combat zones. The best known and most widely used technique was the parachute. But the divisions also could deliver a portion of their troops as well as heavy equipment by gliders, towed behind transport aircraft and released near the landing zone. The 82nd's first airborne operation was during the 1943 invasion of Sicily, followed by later combat actions at Salerno and Anzio in Italy. The 82nd and 101st took part in the massive airborne attacks that initiated the D-Day invasion of Normandy in June 1944. Their last major airborne drop of the war took place in the Arnhem operation in the Netherlands, where the 82nd Airborne seized the Nijmegen Bridge. In the post-war years, the technology of troop insertion began to change with the advent of the helicopter. Helicopters, rather than parachutes or gliders, could deliver forces deep behind enemy lines. The 101st Airborne was converted over to a heliborne force, now called the 101st Air Assault Division. But parachutes still have their place in modern warfare. Limited by the range of the helicopters, heliborne forces can be delivered only a few hundred miles. Paratroopers can be delivered to objectives much further, since their transport aircraft have ranges of several thousand miles.
The difference between the 101st and the 82nd, we're both in the same contingency corps. And once we're on the ground, physically on the ground, our capabilities in the infantry battalions are very similar. The significant difference is the training time that it takes to be a paratrooper, insertion by parachute, as compared to insertion by helicopters. We both have to focus on that entry technique, and those require some intensive training both at the individual level and at the command levels.
You're a changed man.
How's that?
You got off that train back there, you did two things you never done before. At least not at the same time. You shook my hand. Then you looked me square in the eye. Where'd that come from?
Can you see the difference between these homes? It's a difference of over $9,000 a year. That's the difference Quicken Loans can make for you with the exclusive Smart Choice interest-only loan. The mortgage that could lower your payment up to 45% by giving you the choice of paying just interest or adding principal. The payment for a traditional $200,000 mortgage is $1,260, but the Smart Choice payment is only $730. That's a $6,000 yearly difference. Whether you're purchasing or refinancing, call Quicken Loans at 800-648-7122 today, or go to QuickenLoans.com to see how the exclusive Smart Choice loan can lower your house payment up to 45%. If a lower mortgage payment looks good to you, call Quicken Loans today to see the difference Smart Choice could make in your payment. Quicken Loans, America's home loan experts.
Now on the Military Channel, take a look at the fighting equipment used in battles on Firepower. And then it's more machines used by the armed forces on military machines. And later on, see how battles are won on the ground on Fields of Armor. On the Military Channel, enter an elite world of secrecy and stealth.
Our objective is to infiltrate undetected.
Where the men and their missions are far from ordinary.
It's a dangerous job.
Go behind the lines.
With high intensity.
And reveal a covert existence.
These soldiers are not the Hollywood version. They do things that Hollywood can't imagine.
Special Forces. Sunday starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
When going into a combat jump, the paratrooper is heavily burdened with equipment. Over his regular combat equipment webbing, the paratrooper wears a special harness. The main parachute is attached to the rear of this harness and is designed to land the paratrooper safely, even during jumps from under 1,000 feet. In front, the paratrooper attaches a reserve parachute. The airborne soldier's individual weapon is carried in an M1950 weapons case. The soldier's Alice pack, or rucksack, is suspended off the front of the harness. In total, the paratrooper carries about 150 to 180 pounds of equipment.
The T-10 Bravo and Charlie parachutes are 35 foot in diameter, and they fall at a rate of descent of approximately 15 feet per second. This allows the paratrooper to land safely. That parachute is also designed to bring 350 pounds safely to the ground. It is also designed to open quickly, and the division jumps at low altitudes, so that parachute has to act as designed every time.
When inside the aircraft preparing to jump, the paratrooper's static line is attached to the anchor line in the aircraft. Upon jumping, the weight of the paratrooper breaks a pack closing tie when the end of the 15-foot static line is reached. When this happens, the parachute deployment bag comes free of the pack tray. 2 connector link ties break, and the suspension lines are pulled out of the stow loops of the deployment bag. Finally, 2 locking stows disengage, and the canopy is pulled from the deployment bag. The entire process takes about 4 seconds from exiting the aircraft to full inflation of the parachute's canopy.
Have a lanyard that lowers your equipment. It's a lowering line. What it does is it attaches to your Alice pack, routes it through your M1950 weapons case, and then to a D-ring that's attached to the main parachute harness. This allows you to have more freedom of movement to curl up into your prepare to land attitude when you get ready to conduct your POF. Keeping the equipment on you causes damage to the equipment and possibly injure the paratrooper himself.
The inherent risk in parachute jumps has led to a series of overlapping safety features during airborne operations. One of the most obvious methods is the reserve parachute worn by the paratrooper.
The reserve parachute is the backup system for that main parachute should it fail. Its canopy is smaller in size. It's a 24-foot diameter canopy. Its opening is aided with a pilot parachute, and it opens very quickly. Its rate of descent is somewhat faster. It will not bring down as much weight, but it's designed to open super quick, so if he has a problem, he's got a life-saving device right there in front of him.
Since airborne operations are conducted from low altitudes, every effort is made to ensure that the main chute operates every time. Preparing parachutes for operations is the responsibility of the Division Supply and Transport Battalion.
Our process of ensuring that we have a safe parachute is a parachute from the time it's taken off the drop zone and shaken to the packing procedure, back onto the back of a paratrooper going out of an airplane. It's inspected no less than 5 times. So that parachute undergoes a tremendous amount of scrutiny before it ever goes back on somebody's back.
During training operations, the paratrooper bundles the parachute into a kit bag after the drop. Bundling the parachute after jumps is the first step in ensuring that the parachutes remain undamaged and safe to use.
Once a parachute is recovered from the drop zone by the unit that has jumped the parachute, it is taken to the shakeout facility, which is adjacent to the pack facility, and it's shaken out to make sure that all debris is removed from the parachute, and they attempt to remove any tangles in the suspension lines in order that when the parachute comes to us, it's able to be packed with ease. Once it's through being shaken out, they send it to the pack facility, and it is then inspected by a parachute rigger and packed
The PAC facility at Fort Bragg is the largest of its kind in the U.S. Armed Forces. The paratroopers' safety is the platoon's key concern.
There's one parachute rigger that packs the parachute. There's also an in-process inspector working with that rigger who lays out the parachute and ensures that it is in proper layout for the rigger. And while he or she is packing the chute, that same in-process inspector is inspecting the parachute while it's being packed. Once it has been packed by that rigger, then it goes to a final inspector who gives it a final inspection. So basically what you have is one soldier packing the parachute and 2 additional parachute riggers that are inspecting it while he or she is packing it.
So, what do you think?
In the time it takes to take out the trash, you could save hundreds on car insurance. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Let's get campy!
New clothes are fun, but they won't save you money on car insurance.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Why haven't you called Geico?
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
Would you like to lower your mortgage payments up to 45%?
I can reduce my monthly payments? Tell me how.
Introducing Smart Choice, the new home loan exclusively from Quicken Loans. Whether you're buying a new home or refinancing, Smart Choice is the answer. Here's an example. A traditional 30-year loan for $200,000 at 6.5% interest would be $1,260 a month. But with Smart Choice, that same loan would be an amazingly low $730 a month. That's a difference of over $6,000 a year.
That's good news. So what are we waiting for?
Call toll-free now and see how you can lower your monthly payments up to 45%. The new Smart Choice loan. It's great for refinancing or for purchasing that new home. You get monthly payment flexibility, so you can decide to pay just interest or make payments to principal whenever you want. Call 800-493-4291 now, or go to QuickenLoans.com to get started and lower your mortgage by up to 45%. But don't wait. Take advantage today while rates are still low.
On the Military Channel.
This is what you're trained for.
Their words.
We don't consider ourselves heroes.
Their stories.
You're in enemy territory, and people want to kill you.
Experience conflict through the eyes of those who were there.
All kinds of rockets and bombs.
Go behind the lines.
I'm so happy to be home. It's so good to be free.
Tour of Duty, Mondays at 10, only on the Military Channel. Next, get an insider's look at the heavy artillery and armored fighting vehicles and find out how they help make an impact on how battles are won. Next on the Military Channel.
Although the 82nd Airborne is primarily a light infantry force comprised of about 14,000 soldiers, its task forces include a variety of heavy equipment to support the paratroopers during combat missions.
A battalion task force in this division consists of approximately 730 soldiers. The basis for the task force organization is the infantry battalion. But also assigned to the task force is an artillery battery consisting of 6 105 howitzers, an engineer platoon, an air defense platoon, a military police squad, and a military intelligence element.
This heavy equipment has to be dropped into the landing zone along with the paratroopers. This can range in size from single containers of ammunition and other supplies, all the way up to armored vehicles. The 82nd uses a variety of special techniques to ensure that the heavy loads will arrive safely in the drop zone. These troops are preparing a Humvee 5-quarter-ton truck for a parachute drop.
The ring for a Humvee consists of a 16-foot platform. That's a large aluminum platform made up of different panels, side rails, and end boards, which are just components of the platform. That's like the base. Then on top of that, put honeycomb stacks, and what those are stacks configured to help cushion the shock on impact for the vehicle. Then the vehicle is actually lashed onto that platform and onto those honeycomb stacks. Again, that's just to make sure that as little damage is done to the vehicle as possible. Then additional honeycomb is put on top of the vehicle to make sure that nothing happens to it. Then we also have parachutes on top of that, 2 parachutes in the case of a Humvee.
Especially heavy loads such as armored vehicles require special attention. There are two methods for delivering such loads into the drop zone.
We have a heavy drop, which normally would take 8 G11 size parachutes, and they are loaded onto a platform and basically are pulled out of the aircraft, this opening the parachutes, allowing for land. We have a LAPES operation, which is a low altitude parachute insertion, and this is basically where the aircraft flies real low, and the tank on the pallet is pulled from the aircraft and has somewhat of a rough landing, but it kind of slides across the terrain or the ground.
LAPES allow us for the delivery of especially large and heavy loads without the need for so many large cargo parachutes. However, it does demand considerable skill on the part of the airlift pilot.
The C-130 will go down very low to the ground. The parachutes will come out and they'll act as an air anchor and actually just pull the load out. Now, the load's on a special type of platform with a special kind of nose on it that prevents the vehicle from tipping over as it actually drags on the ground and is slowed down by the parachutes.
Delivering the paratroopers to their distant objectives is the task of the U.S. Air Force's military airlift units. An important element in division planning is the close relationship between the airborne forces and the airlift squadrons. The 82nd Airborne's North Carolina base at Fort Bragg is co-located with Pope Air Force Base, home to several transport squadrons.
Without the support of the Military Airlift Command, we would be incapable of conducting our mission. We enjoy a close relationship with the Air Force, with the close proximity of Fort Bragg and Pope Air Force Base. We train literally on a daily basis with the Air Force. Without them, it would be very, very difficult for us to do our job.
Delivering paratroopers is not as easy as it might seem. One of the greatest concerns is landing your forces in a very tight pattern, avoiding wide dispersion. This means that the airlift aircraft need to fly in close formation. This is further complicated by the fact that most drops are conducted in the darkness of night.
Pollen, dust, dander, bacteria, viruses, and mold. The Sharper Image Ionic Breeze, the only air purifier in the world that's earned seals from both the British Allergy Foundation and the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America because it's been proven to reduce airborne allergens. According to AC Nielsen, it's America's most trusted brand of air purifier, #1 in customer satisfaction, and the best value for the money.
Since we've been using the Ionic Breeze, it's absolutely solved our problem. I don't see any dust anymore.
With the Breeze, I feel healthier. I really do. I sleep better, and the air is cleaner.
Since I've been using the Ionic Breeze, I notice immediate relief in my breathing.
I wake up in the morning with so much more energy. I feel clear-headed and energized and healthy and happy.
Don't be confused by noisy competitors. Even if they look the same, you could be throwing your money away if you get tricked into buying a cheap imitation. If it doesn't say Sharper Image, it's not a real Ionic Breeze. With patented Xeneon technology to clean and circulate your air with no fans, no filters, silently. Maintenance is easy. Just wipe off the collection grid and slip it back in.
I've tried every air purifier on the market today, and there's only one that meets everyone's needs, and that's the Ionic Breeze.
Order today and we'll give you a $69 bathroom Ionic Breeze. This powerful compact helps bathrooms smell fresh and clean 24 hours a day. And we'll also give you a $39 car Ionic Breeze for cleaner air wherever you go. Try the Ionic Breeze Quadra for 60 days. And if you don't love it, send it back. But keep the bathroom and the car Ionic Breezes over a $100 value as a free gift. Call now and get a free 5-year warranty. And ask about free shipping.
Call 1-800-697-1146. That's 1-800-697-1146.
Who is the greatest American? The man who knew how to light up the face of a child, or the man who actually invented the light? From Walt Disney to Thomas Edison, to all those who inspired us or changed the world the most, who is the greatest American?
I'm Matt Lauer. Join me as I host a 4-part series on the Discovery Channel that will ask you to decide.
Who will America choose? Find out Sunday, June 5th at 8 on the Discovery Channel.
Greatest American. For the people, by the people.
Now on the Military Channel, take a look at the fighting equipment used in battles on firepower. And then it's more machines used by the armed forces on military machines. And later on, see how battles are won on the ground on fields of armor.
Six Air Force C-141 Starlifters fly in close formation. They will have to slow down to 130 miles per hour, nearly stall speed, to allow the paratroopers to jump safely. In close formation, wingtip vortices from leading aircraft are a particular danger, requiring each aircraft to fly lower than those following it. The approach to the drop zone is completely black, save a few markings. To line up on the drop zone and deliver the paratroopers requires great concentration from the Air Force crew and close cooperation with the soldiers of the Army's 82nd Airborne Division. Night drops may be difficult for the airlift crews, but they are a definite advantage to the paratrooper. The first combat jump for the 82nd Airborne since World War II was a nighttime jump in Panama in 1989.
Going into Panama was experience. This for us was a chance for the 82nd to conduct its first airborne operations in quite some time. So initially everyone that was there were young, new faces. Looking around for some sort of confidence from other fellow mates was really non-existent. Basically, what you're looking at is everybody, it's first time for everyone. So there's really no one to look at other than the training that you've done all these years prior to it paid off for us. If you have a mission and that's on your mind, jumping into the nighttime is really a plus for you. So it's more of an asset than it is of an enemy, because for one, it cuts down your possibility of getting spotted or seen. So it's basically, it's a friend for you. So I prefer to jump at nighttime.
The routine of an airborne jump has not changed much since World War II. As the paratroopers wait to board the aircraft, the traditional ritual of paratroopers takes place. The jump masters carefully check each soldier to make certain that no harness is out of place, no line tangled. Burdened by the heavy load of their parachutes and equipment, the airborne soldiers struggle out to the aircraft. It's not surprising that the 82nd Airborne places great importance on peak physical training for its troops. Once aboard the aircraft, the paratroopers settle in for the trip to the drop zone. For overseas deployments, it can be over 10 hours. Inside the cavernous hold of the aircraft, the paratroopers await the signal to get up and attach their static lines. No matter how careful the planning and how thorough the training, there is always an element of danger in parachute jumps. On approach to the drop zone, the pilot signals the jump masters in the rear of the aircraft, and the first line of paratroopers are soon exiting the aircraft. With its legendary heritage of heroic exploits, the 82nd Airborne Division has been the shock force of the U.S. Army since World War II. When crises arise, the Army depends on the All-Americans to deploy anywhere, at any time, and fight upon arrival.
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
The deep ocean. This is the realm of the world's most powerful military machine. They can stay submerged for months at a time, ready to fire, totally undetected. Over 500 submarines patrol the world's oceans. Missile subs carry half the world's nuclear arsenal. Attack subs have replaced the battleship. They hunt and kill both enemy ships and submarines. They launch cruise missiles and teams of Navy SEAL commandos. Nuclear submarines can go anywhere, even under the Arctic ice. No one knows where they are, and no one can see them coming. This is Kings Bay Submarine Base in Georgia, home for over half the Navy's 18 Trident missile submarines. The USS Nebraska embarks on a 3-month patrol. Over 80% of this huge submarine is below the waterline. She carries a crew of 172 men and 24 nuclear missiles. A small team stays on deck. They secure every hatch and opening to make sure the submarine runs silently at sea. From here, it will be several hours before the Nebraska reaches deep water.
The mission of America's ballistic missile submarine force has always been deterrence of war. It is a very necessary thing for us to maintain a strong nuclear deterrent force so that any country that possesses nuclear weapons or other weapons of mass destruction will never consider using them against America or her allies.
Just full bridge, Alliance, the head full. Be able to see the power of the ship when we come to the full bell. It makes quite a wake from the propeller there.
The Nebraska is as fast as any ship in the Navy. It's nuclear powered. It only has to be refueled once every 20 years. And it can stay submerged for its entire 3-month patrol.
The ship is literally independent of the surface, limited only by the amount of food that we can carry. The ability to operate for 3 months without coming to periscope depth makes us truly the stealthiest platform in the world. In the unlikely event of an enemy first strike, the Trident submarine force would survive.
60 miles from shore, Nebraska reaches the edge of the continental shelf. Deep water, and she prepares to dive.
Very well, Chief of the Watch. Submerge the ship and proceed to 180 feet. Submerge the ship. Proceed to 180 feet, aye, sir.
Dive. Dive.
A double-skinned hull houses enormous ballast tanks.
Dive. Dive. All vents open.
When 2,000 gallons of seawater flood into the tanks, the air is forced out of small vents at high pressure.
39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 60 feet, sir. 61, 62, 63. 69. 70 feet, sir. 72, 74, 76, 78, 80, 82, 84.
Number 2 scope coming down,
88, 90 feet, sir.
The Nebraska slides down into this harsh, cold world. Every 100 feet she descends, the pressure outside increases by 3 times atmospheric pressure. The force is so immense, the hull shrinks. Across the missile compartment, a washing line that was taut at the surface hangs slack at 800 feet. The submarine is now several inches thinner. This is a world of sound, not vision. Submarines have microphones built into their hulls. The Nebraska's sonar operators can isolate the sound of a ship's propeller as far as 3,000 miles away, the width of the Atlantic Ocean.
5. Initial classification, submerged contact.
They can identify the exact class of any surface ship or submarine by the sound from its propellers. If another ship or submarine comes too close, the Nebraska goes on immediate alert.
Initial classified, submerged contact. Recommend opening datum.
In the torpedo room, a firing team stands by. These submarines can carry 16 torpedoes.
TTCB. Make Tube 1 ready in all respects. Make Tube 1 ready in all respects.
But the USS Nebraska prefers to hide and go ultra-quiet.
Quick quiet. Quick quiet.
In seconds, the submarine is transformed from quiet to silent. Anything not vital to basic operations is powered down. The slightest human noise could be detected by an enemy sub. The crew settles in for what could be a long wait. Millions of dollars worth of top-secret silencing technology has been built into these submarines. And thousands of rubber washers cushion every metal connection. Trident submarines are so quiet that the Navy claims not one has ever been successfully tracked by an enemy.
Some folks have made the remark that when trying to track Trident submarines, what one really needs to do is to
follow the quiet hole in the ocean as it moves around. Finding Nebraska in the Atlantic Ocean is to propose a preposterous engineering challenge.
The machine comes first. The men eat, rest, and sleep in any space they can find.
First patrol was, I wouldn't say really scary, just couldn't adapt. You have no clue what's going on around you. There's things coming over the 1MC all the time. You have no clue what they're talking about. Fans come off and on, machines go off and on, and you're there, kind of waiting for someone to tell you what to do.
Like a spacecraft, a submarine needs a complete life support system for its crew. The nuclear reactor provides the power to extract oxygen and drinking water from seawater. Only a nuclear submarine can support so many men underwater for so long. From a small galley, the cooks serve 50,000 meals on each patrol.
Food is the only thing that limits us to the amount of time we can stay at sea. As you can see, we utilize every nook and cranny, and we pack all the food into this one storeroom for our 90-day patrols.
During the patrol, most of the crew, even the helmsmen, don't know where they are.
When USS Nebraska is on patrol, really there are only very few people that know of her exact whereabouts, and they're all on board the submarine. Shoreside, my operational commander, who has assigned me a certain number of hundreds of square miles of ocean to operate in, knows generally what part of the world I'm in, but even he does not know my exact location.
If the only people who know the exact location are on board, it's impossible for an enemy to find it.
Something good happened today? I found someone to pay for me to go to college.
Go on.
Okay, now before you ask, Ma, I already checked them out. And I can get training in just about any field that I want. And besides, it's time for me to be the man.
Okay. Tell me more.
Okay, well, I was thinking about being an engineer.
The thrill is gone.
From the most beloved blues band in the world, B.B. King, The Ultimate Collection. For the first time ever, all his classic hits on a single CD.
Now it is 3 o'clock in the morning.
From his very first hit, 3 O'Clock Blues, through his famous duets with U2 and Eric Clapton, this is the ultimate in B.B. King.
Rock me, baby.
The Ultimate Collection includes 21 of the greatest blues songs ever, like When Love Comes to Town.
Love comes to town, I'm gonna jump that train.
Paying the cost to be the boss, and more.
And paying the cost to be the boss.
Get B.B. King's The Ultimate Collection CD, or get B.B. King's latest DVD live by request, each for just $15.98. Or get both with this exclusive TV offer for just $24.98. $4.95 shipping and handling on all orders. Call the number on your screen. Free limited edition lapel pen with paid order. It's time to feel the blues.
Tell them B.B. and Lucille sent you.
Now on the Military Channel. Get an up-close look at the heavy artillery used by the armed forces on military machines. Then it's the great tank battles of the 20th century on fields of armor. And later, take a real-life look at the powerful machines used by the military on firepower.
I'm Jennifer, and this is my Chaser Plus No Hangover story. So we were on our way to this club, and my friend shouts, "Hey, pull into that drugstore. You've got to try this awesome stuff for hangovers." Well, we bought some Chaser Plus and used it that night. I couldn't believe the next morning. I felt so great.
Chaser Plus tackles headache, nausea, fatigue, and other hangover symptoms. And it's a safe alternative to pain relievers.
Now I always use Chaser Plus, and I never get a hangover.
Buy Chaser products at Walgreens, GNC, and these other fine stores.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide Home Loans. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you can use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. No one can do what Countrywide can. Apply now. Call 1-800-641-8307.
On the Military Channel, enter an elite world of secrecy and stealth.
Our objective is to infiltrate undetected.
Where the men and their missions are far from ordinary.
It's a dangerous job.
Go behind the lines.
It's high intensity.
And reveal a covert existence.
These soldiers are not the Hollywood version. They do things that Hollywood can't imagine.
Special Forces. Sunday starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
Beneath this protective cover is a 45-foot-long Trident D5 missile.
Stall safety bid 213, launcher topside eye. Stall outside safety bid 213. Stall outside safety bid.
It's a weapon of unimaginable destructive power. It weighs over 65 tons and has a range of 6,000 miles. Each missile carries up to 10 independently targeted nuclear warheads. The Nebraska is always ready to fire. In the missile room, the 24 giant tubes are continuously monitored. A missile technician patrols the decks around the tubes, checking for any possible fault or hazard every 30 minutes. Constant readiness is a vital part of the mission.
For a true deterrence to be effective, the adversary has to believe that you're willing to carry out your mission. And in that respect, we are certainly willing to carry out the mission when directed to launch our missiles at the intended targets.
The process of a nuclear weapons release would begin when the ship received an EAM, an emergency action message.
The secret launch codes can be transmitted directly to the submarine.
Submarine 0, what's Sailor 1?
Missile execution message.
Very well, engineer. XO, break out our code book. Within the EAM are certain codes which are used by me to verify the validity of the launch order, to ensure that the message is from the President and that the launch order is proper.
Message 10 on the console. Report message 10. Report message 10, aye, sir. Captain, message 10 is valid and requires authentication using code ID Delta, Oscar, Golf.
A two-officer team, plus the executive officer and myself, must jointly concur that the message is valid, it's authentic, and that the proper codes are contained within the message.
Sierra, Alpha, Lima.
The codes in that message are unique to each Trident. The codes themselves are among America's most closely guarded secrets.
Captain, message authenticates.
I concur, message authenticates.
Captain, I concur, the message authenticates.
The message is authentic. Action directed.
Captain, message 10 directs Nebraska to launch 4 of our missiles aimed at the site specified in the message. The launch window...
The four-person team would jointly concur in the need to obtain the captain's key. The captain's key is the final key that is necessary to activate the D5 weapon system and actually launch a D5 missile. Very well. Obtain the captain's key from the MCC safe.
Obtain the captain's key from the MCC safe. Aye, sir.
Authorized entry into the captain's key safe has been granted. Disregard all captain's key safe alarms.
Currently, we are aiming the missiles themselves to targets out to the water. If directed to, we can very quickly shift over to the actual targets.
Captain, sir, entry into the captain's key safe is complete. We have obtained the captain's key, sir.
I concur. Very well. I accept custody of the captain's key.
Aye, sir. Captain, sir, I recommend battle stations missile.
Very well. Officer of the deck, man battle stations missile.
Man battle stations missile for training without guidance with launcher. Simulate spinning up ball missiles.
Timing plan will be the current timing plan. Count with inside.
In the missile compartments, technicians check and activate the tubes to be fired.
Detonator power supplies 1, 2, and 3 are on. Detonator power supplies 1, 2, and 3 are on, aye. Watch the hand, this compartment ready.
The fire order will be 1, 13, 2, 14.
Comp, Chief of the Watch, prepare to hover at normal launch dates.
Mr. Martin, all of the targets are verified correct.
Just targets verified correct, aye, sir.
Within 15 minutes of receiving the launch codes, Missile Control is ready to fire.
Weapons launcher aye.
Set condition 1SQ for training without guidance with launcher.
This is the captain. This is an exercise.
Camp launcher, hold forward and aft system 1SQ.
Weapons con, the firing window is open. You have permission to fire.
The firing window is open. You have permission to fire, sir. Weapons con, the firing window is open. You have permission to fire.
Once the coordinates are entered into the missile, we put them through sequence, which means they pressurize the tubes to sea pressure. I pull the trigger, which actually sends a signal down to the gas generators in the missile compartment lower level, which shoot the missile out on a big ball of steam, rises up to the surface. Theoretically, it prevents the missile from ever touching the water. Reaches the surface, broaches, detects the signal within the missile, starts to fall back down, and actually ignites at that point. The rocket propels itself up into space, and each individual warhead is then released towards its intended target.
13 away.
Fourteen away.
Weapons con, aye. Weapons con, permission to fire is removed.
Permission to fire removed, aye, sir. Weapons con, permission to fire removed.
Permission to fire removed. Set condition 4SQ.
Set condition 4SQ. Set condition 4SQ, weapons launcher aye.
I don't look forward to carrying out the mission, but when directed to, I think is important. I've personally thought about it myself in great detail, and I feel that what I'm doing here is important and necessary to the country.
All of the individuals in this program have sworn to obey the orders of the President of the United States. All of them understand the weight of their responsibilities as members of this crew. And I believe that all of them, if called upon to execute a launch, would do so. It's a weighty responsibility. It is not one that I take lightly.
The marriage was built to last.
You are so awesome.
But the house was built too small.
This is kind of awesome.
How long are we here?
For 1 year, sparks will fly.
This is not awesome.
I just want to make an omelet.
Oh, are you kidding me?
The drama will be real, but it won't save you any money on car insurance.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Why haven't you called Geico?
Have you ever wished you could just magically take a pill and become smarter? Well, what if you could become smarter by increasing your ability to read and process information rapidly through simple-to-do exercises in only 7 minutes a day? Well, now you can with IQ by Infinite Mind. IQ is a proven system designed to dramatically increase your reading speed and comprehension. In fact, children and adults alike who have completed the IQ program report a 200 to even 1,000% increase in their reading speed. What that means is, in the amount of time it now takes you to read 1 book, you could be reading up to 10 books. 10 books in the same amount of time. I mean, that is incredible. The science behind IQ is truly amazing. Through the IQ exercises, your eyes rapidly communicate information to your brain repeatedly. This fast, repetitive eye movement actually trains your brain to read and comprehend faster than you ever have before. Children do better in school and have more confidence, and they can actually score higher on their college entrance exams. Busy adults can process information faster, so they're more successful and productive. And ultimately, they have more free time to enjoy their lives. In fact, if you're like most people, you'll see a dramatic increase in your reading speed after just one 7-minute session. I know I did. Just call the number on your screen now, and Infinite Mind will send you everything you need to increase your reading speed and comprehension in just 7 minutes. You get the IQ Interactive CD, the iBrain exercise book, and the Introduction to IQ video. You'll even get the classic The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Infinite Mind will also include these bonus CDs, the world's 100 greatest books and the world's 100 greatest people. But here's the best part. Call now, and you can try IQ risk-free for 30 days for just $14.95.
Call 1-800-682-1582 to order a 30-day risk-free trial of the IQ program for only $14.95.
Who is the greatest American? The man who knew how to light up the face of a child, or the man who actually invented the light? From Walt Disney to Thomas Edison, to all those who inspired us or changed the world the most, who is the greatest American?
I'm Matt Lauer. Join me as I host a 4-part series on the Discovery Channel that will ask you to decide.
Who will America choose? Find out Sunday, June 5th at 8 on the Discovery Channel.
Greatest American. For the people, by the people.
On the Military Channel.
This is what you're trained for.
Their words.
We don't consider ourselves heroes.
Their stories.
You're in enemy territory, and people want to kill you.
Experience conflict through the eyes of those who were there.
All kinds of rockets and bombs.
Go behind the lines.
I'm so happy to be home. It's so good to be free.
Tour of Duty, Mondays at 10, only on the Military Channel. Next, go beyond the front lines and take a look at the great tank battles from the eyes of those who were there.
If we'd sat and thought about something, we probably would have been dead.
Next on the Military Channel.
The world's first nuclear-powered submarine, the Nautilus, was launched in 1954. This was an escalation in the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union. Submarines that could stay submerged indefinitely would bring a major strategic advantage. The ideal patrol area for these submarines was under the Arctic ice, directly between the two superpowers. In October 1958, the Nautilus became the first submarine to reach the North Pole, passing directly underneath it. But to launch missiles, submarines would have to break through the ice. The first submarine to successfully surface in the Arctic was the USS Skate.
Well, in the first voyage of the Skate, the mission was to find places to surface in through the Arctic Ocean.
Captain James Calvert and his crew had to find small openings in the ice, known by the Russian term Polinya.
We were about 200 miles into the ice pack. The people on the ice machine, as we called our fathometer that went upward, said we're under pretty good sized Polinya. So we whirled around and went back, forth. Then I got the submarine underneath it and got it as stationary as possible. And then we started pumping water out. It took us 4 or 5 hours.
If they missed the opening, they would crash into thick ice. On its first voyage, the Skate surfaced many times, including a needle-in-a-haystack rendezvous with a drifting scientific station. But they found nowhere to surface near the pole. The following year, the Skate returned in the middle of the Arctic winter. The submarine's bridge had been reinforced so that it could surface through thick ice.
We went back and forth for a couple of days right at the North Pole and couldn't find anything we could break. Finally, we found something we thought we could do, and it was 3 feet thick. That was the heaviest ice we ever broke.
On March 18th, 1959, Skate surfaced right at the North Pole.
We came up at about the maximum rate, and we broke through, and you could hear the ice break all around the edge of the sail and the conning tower. I got up on the bridge, and it was quite a sight. It was a thrilling experience to be there and to realize that any direction you looked in was south.
America had proved it could hide nuclear submarines under the polar ice cap. But the Soviet Union was not far behind. 2 years later, the first Soviet nuclear submarine, the K-3, surfaced at the North Pole. For the next 30 years, the Arctic became the battleground for the superpowers. This is the world's largest class of submarine, known in the West as Typhoon. The pride of the Russian Navy, the Typhoon is like two submarines joined together under a huge outer hull. It's nearly twice the size of the Trident submarines. It has a crew of 150 and carries 20 nuclear missiles. It's so large, the spacious crew quarters even include a swimming pool and a sauna. The Typhoons were seen as such a threat to the West that they all had to be tracked at any cost. This was the job of the West's attack submarines, the Hunter Killers. Groton, Connecticut. This is the main base for the attack submarines of the Atlantic Fleet. They are maintained in floating dry docks, which can be moved anywhere in the world. The USS Miami is a Los Angeles-class Hunter Killer. It was designed to track enemy submarines and protect aircraft carriers. Less than half the size of a Trident missile sub, it's streamlined, fast, and stealthy. But inside, it's extremely claustrophobic.
When they designed the submarine, human comfort wasn't the top priority. There's just abundant amounts of gear shoved in every possible location. We have electrical gear shoved anywhere possible. And then as we move on down the passageway, you can see everything from electronic to we got medical gear that has to be moved constantly. Chart lockers that stick out the side of the passageway. Electrical panels in the outboards. It's just like living on a sardine can. With a crew of 130 men, the submarine's not big enough to accommodate everyone. One of the things we do is we even put racks down in the torpedo room to accommodate 12 personnel. Some people have to do what they call hot racking. It's when we have 2 racks for 3 personnel. The reason it's called hot racking is because you may get to your rack and it'll still be warm from the guy who just got out of it.
6-6. We're 2 scoops under.
The Miami is armed with one of the world's most advanced weapons. The ADCAP torpedo. It's 20 feet long, weighs 1.5 tons, and carries an explosive charge capable of sinking any ship.
Oh, we're good. I'm looking. Down here.
It's designed like a mini submarine. It has its own engine, fuel supply, and a sonar homing system.
Ramming.
A thin control wire, an incredible 20 miles long, keeps it connected to the submarine.
It's 249, sort of a 20-degree steer to the right. So it's a 20-degree steer.
A weapons officer can adjust the torpedo's course as it travels through the water at up to 60 knots. But when it reaches a surface ship, the ADCAP is designed to miss the hull.
Rather than hitting the side of the surface ship, it will run underneath the ship and explode, creating a large void or vacuum, and that force and void is so great that the keel of the ship will just split in half.
But the greatest challenge for the Miami is to hunt down other submarines. For 30 years, a deadly game of cat and mouse was played out under the Arctic ice. The noise of the constantly shifting ice pack made it the ideal hiding place for Soviet Typhoons and their escort attack submarines. The most powerful and dangerous of these was the Akula. Attack submarines like the Miami tracked the giant Soviet submarines. In the event of nuclear war, they would have been ordered to attack to prevent the Typhoon from launching its missiles. The U.S. submarines had an important technical advantage.
First contact, Allied.
A sonar array inside a cable towed up to half a mile behind the hull. Isolated from the noise of its own ship, it's a powerful tool for detecting other submarines.
Laminar distance, 2400.
Using this data, the Miami is able to keep a fix on the Typhoon's position.
Sierra 100, it's 249.
Current bearing is 249.
The Akula and Typhoon stay close, aware that an American attack sub might be in the vicinity. The Miami must stay in torpedo range without being detected. In the worst case scenario, she could have just minutes to attack.
Officer deck, man battle stations.
Man battle stations, aye, sir. Chief of the watch, man battle stations.
Man battle stations.
The Miami moves in for the kill. The torpedo tubes are flooded.
Both things bedded aye, stand by shooting tube.
Solution ready. Solution ready, aye.
Ship ready, aye.
Solution ready.
Solution ready, aye. Match sonar bearings and shoot.
Shoot tube 1.
Tube 1, aye. Tube 1 is away.
Shoot!
Get up course, 229. Laminar distance, 2400 yards. Run to enable 3600 yards.
As the torpedo approaches the Typhoon, its course can be adjusted by the control wire. The Typhoon can't detect the torpedo until it's too late. But the Miami has blown her cover and is under threat from the Soviet escort sub, the Akula.
Torpedo wire, bearing 337.
Launch primary countermeasure. Launch primary countermeasure, aye.
The Miami launches decoys, sound emitters which try to trick the Akula's torpedoes. In reality, the United States and the Soviet Union never fired a torpedo at each other. But every day, thousands of submariners risk their lives to protect the peace.
Can you see the difference between these homes? It's a difference of over $9,000 a year. That's the difference the home loan experts at Quicken Loans can make for you with the incredible new Smart Choice interest-only loan, the mortgage that could lower your payment as much as 45%. With Smart Choice, Quicken Loans has created a new kind of home loan that offers you month-by-month flexibility to lower your house payment up to 45%. How does a Smart Choice loan work? It's easy. Month after month, you can choose to lower your payment by paying only interest. Or you can add principal to your payment anytime you want. It's your choice. Let's say you have a $200,000 loan. With a traditional 30-year fixed loan at 6.5% interest, your payment would be $1,260 every single month. But with Smart Choice from Quicken Loans, your payment would be an amazingly low $730 a month. That's a difference of over $6,000 a year. Call 800-923-5044 now to see the difference Quicken Loans can make for you. Imagine what you could do if you could cut your house payment almost in half. You'd have extra money to meet unexpected expenses, remodel your home, or pay for college tuition. No matter what size your mortgage is, refinancing with a Smart Choice loan could put thousands of dollars back in your pocket. The difference could be over $4,000, $9,000, even $16,000 a year. If you're refinancing or you're buying a new home, call 800-923-5044 now or go to QuickenLoans.com to see how the exclusive Smart Choice loan can give you extra money by lowering your house payment up to 45%. If a lower mortgage payment looks good to you, call Quicken Loans today to see the difference Smart Choice could make in your payment. Quicken Loans, America's home loan experts.
When it comes to life,
I will always be just a little bit fat.
Love,
What's she doing going into my boyfriend's house?
and the pursuit of happiness.
I love you.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I said I love you.
All right, no need to shout.
There's just no stopping Bridget.
I have missed you, Jones. You're sexy. You make me laugh.
Order Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason on pay-per-view.
Hello.
Bridget Jones, The Edge of Reason, now playing on pay-per-view.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide Home Loans. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you can use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. No one can do what Countrywide can. Apply now. Call 1-800-641-8307.
On the Military Channel. Step into a world of strategy.
We were on the offense.
Experience the history of conflict like never before. Analyze battle-tested tactics.
We bombed everything there was.
We'd start it, we'd stop it, we'd start it, we'd stop it.
And uncover campaigns that conquered.
Our forces were just damn good.
Go behind the lines.
We're going to attack and attack as ferociously as possible.
Set your sights on strategy. Tuesdays starting at 8, only on the Military Channel. Now on the Military Channel, get an up-close look at the heavy artillery used by the armed forces on military machines. Then it's the great tank battles of the 20th century on fields of armor. And later, take a real-life look at the powerful machines used by the military on firepower.
The 1991 Gulf War heralded a new age for submarine warfare. There were no naval engagements. But Los Angeles-class submarines launched cruise missile attacks against land targets.
The newest 688 class submarines have 12 of these vertical launch tubes in the ballast tank forward of the pressure hull. From these we can fire Tomahawk cruise missiles. It's a great advantage for a submarine to fire Tomahawk cruise missiles like this because we can launch them at periscope depth. And by the time the missile's flying in enemy territory, the submarine is long gone.
The latest Tomahawks are accurate to within 15 feet. Some submarines can launch a very different weapon to the front lines. U.S. Navy SEAL Commandos. This submarine has been fitted with 2 chambers called dry dock shelters. These allow the SEALs to get in and out of the submarine on the surface or underwater. The USS James K. Polk was originally a nuclear missile platform, converted for the SEALs in 1993. This missile compartment has been rebuilt to accommodate 50 SEALs and their equipment. Some of the empty missile tubes are now used for storing equipment. Two of the tubes are connected to the dry dock shelters up on deck.
This huge space that I'm in used to house a 32-ton Poseidon missile. It's been adapted for our use as an access way to the dry deck shelter directly above my head through that hatch.
Even the spaces between the tubes are used. Every SEAL works out here for at least 6 hours a day.
One of the limits that the submarine and the SEALs will have is maintaining the SEALs in top physical condition. These SEALs are world-class athletes that are performing some of the most strenuous dives that are being done anywhere in the Navy today.
Dive, dive. Dive, dive.
It's up to the crew of the USS Polk to get the SEALs as close as possible to shore without being detected.
We are specialists in operating in shallow water, and we have to be able to operate precisely at slow speeds to safely put the SEALs out on their mission.
Officer deck, shoal water, 3 pump 100 yards off the port beam, recommend slope.
Very well, navigation supervisor. If you stood Polk on its tail, it would frequently be sticking well above the water, and that's how shallow water we operate in.
The SEALs are trained to carry out over 200 different types of mission. A communications center keeps the commanders in radio and sonar phone contact with the SEALs outside the submarine. The USS Polk hovers at periscope depth. Before the mission begins, a final check is made for any surface ships. Finally, the captain gives the all clear.
Pressurize the port hangar, open the port hangar outer door, check deck conditions.
Pressurize port hangar, open the port hangar outer door, check deck conditions. Aye, sir.
The SEALs can carry out missions completely submerged, using mini subs launched from the dry dock shelters. First, the mini sub is winched out onto the deck. It has 2 pilots and can carry a small team of SEALs to beaches or harbors without ever surfacing.
Center Con, are we still there in the forward group? Center Con, aye. Dive no more air from the forward group.
Secure trim pump, or drain pump, chief watch.
Secure drain pump, aye.
They can even launch rubber boats underwater. Specialist divers escort the commandos through the dry dock shelter up to the boats. In minutes, a large team assembles on the surface. The Polk can even tow the SEALs' boats with a rope.
Officer deck and everything inside 1/3, sir.
Eventually, all U.S. attack submarines will be equipped to deliver SEALs and operate as frontline units.
Well, I can't walk.
I can walk, but not very far.
I can't even stand anymore.
And it gave me no freedom.
If you or a loved one suffer from limited mobility, we have incredible news. Now you may qualify for your very own new Invacare power chair or scooter at little or no cost to you. Call Mobility Products Unlimited right now to begin your free pre-qualification process. Invacare's powered mobility products are comfortable, stylish, easy to maneuver, and go anywhere.
And yes, you can get back out there too with Invacare.
So pick up the phone and call Mobility Products right now, risk-free. Their friendly specialists handle all the paperwork and make it fast and easy to begin the pre-qualification process for your very own Invacare power chair or scooter. You could get yours within just days. There's no pressure, no obligation, no cost for the call. And your satisfaction is guaranteed.
So if you're stuck at home, call 1-800-913-5919 right now. Friendly mobility specialists are standing by.
What I'm holding in my hand is just a piece of paper, but it could help save me thousands of dollars. Do you know what it is? It's my credit report and score, and I just printed it off my computer from freecreditreport.com. Do you know what's in your credit report? Do you know your credit score? You should, because when you apply for credit, they can help save you a lot of money. That's why it's so important to make sure your credit report is accurate at freecreditreport.com. Join the more than 8 million people who have already logged on to freecreditreport.com.
I go online, and in seconds, I get my credit report and credit score free.
Staying on top of my credit helped me get the best deal on my refi.
Now there's an easy way to monitor key changes on all 3 of my credit reports.
Wouldn't you like to know the information in your credit report is accurate before you apply for credit? Now you can. Log on to freecreditreport.com. Take charge of your credit and take charge of your future. Log on now.
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
When is a diet pill worth $153 a bottle? When you're more than 20 pounds overweight and every diet plan has failed. Now there's Leptoprin.
Specifically developed for the significantly overweight, backed by a United States patent, a double-blind published clinical trial, and an ironclad 100% 30-day money-back guarantee. Leptoprin is simply the most powerful, clinically proven weight control compound available, period.
If you're one of those people who constantly worry about 5 or 6 vanity pounds, Leptoprin is not for you. Leptoprin is much too expensive and much too powerful for the casual dieter. But if you're one of the millions of Americans who are 20, 30, 50 pounds or more overweight, you need Leptoprin.
So when is a diet pill worth $153 a bottle? When it works, really works.
Isn't it time you tried Leptoprin? Call 1-800-546-1170. 1-800-546-1170.
On the Military Channel, enter an elite world of secrecy and stealth.
Our objective is to infiltrate undetected.
Where the men and their missions are far from ordinary.
It's a dangerous job.
Go behind the lines.
It's high intensity.
And reveal a covert existence.
These soldiers are not the Hollywood version. They do things that Hollywood can't imagine.
Special Forces. Sunday starting at 8 on the Military Channel. Next, go beyond the front lines and take a look at the great tank battles from the eyes of those who were there.
If we thought about something, we probably would have been dead.
Next on the Military Channel.
Only one nuclear submarine has ever carried out a real torpedo attack. A single attack that changed the way the world looked at modern warfare. In April 1982, Britain's HMS Conqueror was heading south at full speed. It was part of a British task force on its way to the South Atlantic Falkland Islands in response to an Argentine invasion.
Open main vents. Main vents. Starting now.
3 nuclear submarines were sent down ahead of the surface ships. My mission was to take up a patrol round the island to stop the Argentinians reinforcing it.
One of the main Argentine naval threats was a cruiser, the General Belgrano.
My initial contact was probably in excess of 100 miles, and having closed the bearing all night and most of that morning, I classified the 3 ships as the Belgrano, the cruiser, being escorted by her 2 destroyers. And I let them go past me, watching them as they went by, and took up a trailing position so that I was outside the visual detection range.
Don?
Captain Chris Reeford Brown sent his first report back to Northwood Naval Command in England. But his initial orders were not to attack unless the Belgrano came within 200 miles of the islands.
By early afternoon on the 2nd of May, I'd been trailing them for some 40 hours, and I was at periscope depth, receiving my signals from Northwood, when it became apparent to me that there was a rule of engagement change coming in, which allowed all the nuclear submarines down there to attack any Argentinian ship that was in the South Atlantic outside the Argentinian territorial waters. I was then about 14,000 yards away from the warships. I could just see the tops of their masts over the horizon. So I went deep to close them at speed, because I could only do about 7 knots or so at periscope depth. So I'd actually been working out in my own mind exactly what I'd do if the rules of engagement changed and I was allowed to attack them. And I decided to use the Mark 8 straight-running diesel torpedoes because I knew they were reliable, and if I got a hit, they would cause some damage to the cruiser. One would only have one chance to carry out a successful attack, and it was absolutely vital that we got that right.
The Conqueror had to get within a mile of the Belgrano to attack.
Action stations, action stations. Action stations provide they have become regassed.
She was doing about 13 knots throughout the attack and zigzagging slowly. So every time she altered course, we would do another setup to correct the fire control position. At the point of firing, I'd come up for a final bearing of the target through the periscope, and once the periscope was on it and I was happy, I'd then give the order to fire.
This sound is the actual recording from the Conqueror's sonar room when the torpedoes were fired. To increase the chances of a hit, 3 torpedoes were fired in a spread 100 feet apart.
We'd calculated the time from firing to a hit would be around 47 to 50 seconds. Just before the 45 seconds was up, I raised the periscope to have a look at the target. As we heard the hits on the sonar, I distinctly saw a plume of orange smoke from the Belgrano.
To avoid counterattack, HMS Conqueror immediately went deep and cruised away at top speed. Belgrano's escort ships were already pounding the sea with anti-submarine depth charges.
The attack had really, to me, been a culmination of all my submarine training, well over 10 years. I think there was a feeling of success and jubilation throughout the whole of my team. We were the first nuclear submarine to have ever carried out such an attack. We'd achieved our mission. And that, I think, later on was tempered by the fact that we'd actually killed people.
With nothing to challenge Britain's nuclear attack submarines, the Argentine Navy returned to port for the remainder of the war, and the islands were successfully recaptured. Conqueror returned home to a hero's welcome.
We were almost overawed by the reception. As we came up the Clyde, there were lots of people waving with banners, hundreds of small ships out to welcome us in. And it was actually probably the most emotional time of the whole patrol.
They flew the skull and crossbones, a World War II tradition for a successful kill. The stealth and independence of nuclear submarines makes them a powerful force. As long as the deep sea remains invisible to light and radar, these submarines will remain the most deadly machines on the planet.
Coming up next, experience the drama of the front lines through the eyes of those who were there on back-to-back episodes of Fields of Armor. Next on the Military Channel. On the Military Channel.
We don't consider ourselves heroes.
Experience conflict through the eyes of those who were there.
I'm so happy to be home. It's so good to be free.
Tour of Duty, Mondays at 10, only on the Military Channel.
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the line.
We will put you into a battle situation and create all of the battle stimuli such that you forget that you are in simulation, and you literally then are linked with forces with whom you may join in combat.
Now that we're into high technology, circuit boards, television, media, multimedia, virtual reality, these are the tools that we're going to use in pursuit of American military preeminence.
Meet the warriors of tomorrow. Their strategic sense, rapid responses to continually changing threat environments, and their thirst for the kill, combined with their ease with computers, makes them ideally qualified to fight the wars of the future. Years of high-speed battle against imaginary opponents have conditioned them for real modern war, where the body heat of distant enemies is spotted in video screens, and flesh is seared from bone by remote control.
Why you let me beat today, mate?
This is the United States Army's favorite video game, the reconstruction of the Battle of 73 Easting, a Gulf War clash that began when an American tank troop decimated an entire Iraqi armored brigade in 23 minutes, with no American casualties. The Army was so pleased with the performance of its men and machines that it turned 73 Easting into a training tool. Shortly after the battle occurred, scientists from the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency photographed the desert floor and interviewed the combatants to determine the course of events down to the millisecond. Then they reconstructed the entire battle in the computer-enhanced world of virtual reality. Now, soldiers refight the Battle of 73 Easting over and over again in virtual space, a place that exists only on hard drives. Virtual reality may be new to the general public, but the Army has explored this terrain since the mid-1980s.
It became increasingly evident to me that we were moving from an industrial age into an information age, that similar to the average American farm boy's knowledge of tanks, which supported our mechanization in World War II, well, today, with arcade games and what have you, there is an understanding, a familiarity with the use of computers that is a relatively unique American advantage. The concept is that we will put you into a battle situation and create all of the battle stimuli such that you forget that you are in simulation, and you literally then are linked by satellite with forces with whom you may join in combat.
Okay, enemy situation. Currently there's a motorized rifle battalion operating within our sector. Enemy artillery is likely en route. You're not to become decisively engaged, but to fix and destroy the enemy and continue the mission. Okay, at this time, mount up, give me a radio check, and report Redcon 1.
Here at Fort Knox, Kentucky, soldiers learn to fight in combat simulators that teach them how to think and react at lightning speed. Tank crews slide into soundproofed pods that duplicate the interiors of their M1A1 tanks and Bradley fighting vehicles. Then, linked by a computer network, they fight wars in virtual space.
Can an odor-free patch stand up to your back pain?
You bet your sweet Aspercream.
Introducing new Aspercream Back and Body Patch, the first and only maximum strength patch with concentrated relief to knock out the pain without the medicine-y smell. Body pain stop.
You bet your sweet Aspercream.
Next up is number 3. Your word is flossy nihilipilification.
FLXCKI.
No hard words.
Can you give it to me in a sentence, please?
That's why Geico.com is so simple. Or is it because you can file a claim, make changes, or pay your bill online? 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Simple as that.
On the Military Channel. Step into a world of strategy.
We were on the offense.
Analyze battle-tested tactics.
Our forces were just damn good.
Set your sights on strategy. Tuesdays starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
You're watching the Military Channel. Go behind the lines.
He saw magic where no one could see it.
What's it like, Neverland?
One day I'll take you there.
He found inspiration when no one could find it.
Young boys should never be sent to bed. They always wake up a day older.
He created a masterpiece that unlocked the world's imagination.
Genius.
This is the film that Joel Siegel, Gene Shalit, Jeffrey Lyons, and Elle Magazine all call one of the best pictures of the year.
Just believe.
Finding Neverland, rated PG.
Homeowners need cash? You need to know about the no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide Home Loans. Unlike many lenders, with Countrywide there's no application fee, no credit reporting fee, no appraisal fee, no underwriting fee, no closing costs. So you can use more of your loan to pay off credit cards and lower your bills. The no closing cost home equity line of credit from Countrywide. No one can do what Countrywide can. Apply now. Call 1-800-641-8309.
The 73 Easting simulation is one of many programs running on the Army SimNet, short for Simulation Network. SimNet is the current high end of computer simulation technology. It allows the soldiers sitting in these pods to fight in terrain that has been mapped by intelligent satellites and transformed into a digital battlefield that can be fought on over and over again. This saves money on gasoline and ammunition. It also lets soldiers fight in places they can't go in person. Missions are planned and fought in conditions as close to reality as possible.
Flight 6, Roger. You need Charlie Mike through that zone with a red zone on the road. Locate the 2 BMPs. Destroy them and continue mission, over.
The blue or friendly forces of SimNet are all fighting this man, the central controller, an officer who is not chained to the vision ports of a single tank or airplane in virtual space. Today, he has programmed the movements of an artificial enemy division that will test the battle savvy of the tankers at Fort Knox. Though it might seem an elaborate computer game, SimNet exercises are taken very seriously by the soldiers locked in these pods. Here they learn how to work as a unit, moving in coordination with dozens and sometimes thousands of other soldiers. and they can walk away from mistakes that would leave them dead on a real battlefield.
Well, those are combat simulators. I mean, people go in there and when they're hit, their vision blocks go blank, which I always thought was rather creepy. I mean, there's not like an eruption of big chunks of molten metal through the crew chamber, which is what would happen if you were actually hit, but everything simply stops. And then you and your crestfallen colleagues have to climb out and wander off into the debriefing area, and you can watch the survivors carrying on the fight. The thing that struck me about it was that they immediately began discussing their experience, and they were not talking about it in terms of high technology. I did not hear the word virtual. I did not hear the term cyberspace. What I heard was advances, retreats, zones of fire.
You actually killed 36. You lost 8 because it took you a bit too long. Gentlemen, that's excellent. On your second run this evening, that is good. By the time this evening's over, you should have a few qualified runs.
It was giving them an experience that was like a combat experience. I mean, and when this unit actually goes into combat, I would believe that they would know who is the natural leader among them, who is it who's level-headed, who has a good grasp of what's going on. You know, they would be more likely, they're more aware of one another's strengths and weaknesses, and I think much better equipped to fight as a team.
Pulling the United States Army out of the field and putting it into simulators has not been easy. Military traditions date back thousands of years, and at the core of those traditions is the willingness to go out into the field and fight in the dust, sand, mud, or snow. Also, soldiers need to believe in their prowess as rough and ready warriors.
That's yours, okay?
The Gulf War proved that hand-to-hand combat is practically a thing of the past for American soldiers. But GIs would like to think otherwise.
Today, nobody questions whether the internal combustion engine has a place on the battlefield. Nobody questions whether the helicopter and the aircraft do. But there's a great question in people's minds about the role of the microchip. Microchip is really the internal combustion engine of today. What role does technology and computerization have in fighting vehicles? We're a generation which is much more comfortable seeing our enemy through clear sights and being able to get our head out of the tank and spot him through binoculars. There's a great reluctance to trust the microchip and electronics into telling us those things, and become wedded to the output of a cathode ray tube or a thin screen display.
War is still a matter of capturing land and overwhelming enemy armies, which is why air power alone cannot win a contest. But just as tanks changed the battlefield forever when they first appeared in World War I, so the computer has changed the way America goes to war.
I mean, this is a society which has always adapted its cutting-edge technology to military ends. I mean, when we were great at manufacturing cars, and we overwhelmed Nazi Germany by manufacturing huge numbers of tanks and aircraft. Now that we're into high technology, circuit boards, television, media, multimedia, virtual reality, these are the tools that we're going to use in pursuit of American military preeminence. And these are the 1990s, and the time has come for Silicon Valley to have a few, life-giving sips from the taxpayers' bloodstream here. And it's just a way for, this particular element of our economy to just sort of segue right into the military and bring the military up to digital snuff the way that, the computer revolution has affected every other major enterprise that America has.
Get ready for the most sensual and seductive jazz you've ever heard. Playboy Jazz proudly presents Jazz After Dark 2, the ultimate collection of late-night mood-setting music from the greatest artists in jazz, both past and present, including Miles Davis. Set the mood with Ella Fitzgerald.
I didn't know about you.
Jazz After Dark 2 from Playboy Jazz.
Love a man, oh, well.
Indulge in the mesmerizing sounds of Chet Baker, Tony Bennett, and so many more.
My romance doesn't need a thing.
To order, call the number on your screen or send $19.98 for 2 CDs plus $4.95 shipping and handling to the address shown. Call now. Rush delivery available.
We assumed they would fly in saucers. We assumed they would demand to see our leaders. We assumed they would find us first. We were wrong. See what science thinks is really out there. Alien Planet, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern. Only on the Discovery Channel.
Wow, someone ordered all that! I guess so. Is it heavy? This is one of the new notebooks, integrated wireless, and it's so light, it's crazy. So light, it's crazy.
Take delivery of a thin and light Gateway notebook with an Intel Celeron M processor, just $699.99 and found only in a Gateway box.
On the Military Channel, enter an elite world of secrecy and stealth.
Our objective is to infiltrate undetected.
Where the men and their missions are far from ordinary.
It's a dangerous job.
Go behind the lines.
It's high intensity.
And reveal a covert existence.
These soldiers are not the Hollywood version. They do things that Hollywood can't imagine.
Special Forces. Sunday starting at 8 on the Military Channel.
We got 2 tanks.
2 tanks. Gunner Sable, 2 tanks, left tank.
Fort Knox, Kentucky, a training room in the United States Army's Armor Center.
Fire.
One away.
Target. Ceasefire.
Very good shot. .26.
A young tank commander and his gunner are learning how to think and fight as a team.
Gunner Sable tank.
As the 2 key members of the tank crew, they are responsible for finding and killing enemies with maximum speed and effectiveness.
Target.
Target. Chopper.
Identify.
Fire. Hit him. He's going down.
Dang.
Oh.
Shoot.
Ceasefire.
Sergeant First Class Guy Kukowski, a veteran tank commander, evaluates the soldier's gunnery skills and, most importantly, what he calls crew cohesion.
Roger.
Get on him online, then pull it up or down, whatever you need to do. Track him even. Laze and blaze. You're waiting just a little too long to fire the gun, okay?
Roger.
Laze and blaze.
Roger. I got a tank.
Tank VC, tank first.
As a tank commander, you have to know what that gunner's limitations are, you know, what his capabilities are. Is he better firing with his thermal night sight, which you can use during the day also, or is he better identifying targets with the primary sight, the daylight? You don't want him to shoot at targets at 3,000 meters if you know he can't hit anything at 3,000 meters. You know, so that's probably the biggest thing right there is that tank commander gunner. They got to be tight. They got to know what they've got to depend on each other, and they have to know each other pretty well to be able to do what they do well.
The challenge is that there are some things that you simply cannot replicate in simulation. Cold, wet, tired, miserable, trying to use your map and blowing away and losing your platoon or your company about you. Now, however, there are some things when literally for purposes of training, for example, in an intense battle where you need to put people into situations such that they're just bone tired and then you stress them. We've gotten fairly close to that out at the National Training Center where there's repetitive stress for a period of 14 days.
The National Training Center is a barren tract of land deep in the California desert. Brigades from around the world come here to do battle against the OPFOR, short for Opposing Force. The OPFOR is a highly skilled unit that lives at the NTC and knows every inch of its terrain. It fights using Soviet tactics and a simulated Soviet arsenal.
The whole range of the equation changes once you're in combat. I think with it that we can represent it probably perhaps 80 to so percent in different types of situations that we can put you in for training. But you will never be able to train to that last bit of the ultimate, well, the unlimited liability, the responsibility for your subordinates to and including the point of death.
Right. That's what we're going to do, Roger? Okay. Now.
Soldiers come to the NTC knowing it will be the hardest battle they will face outside of actual combat. Months of training precede NTC visits, and the stakes are high here for commanders and soldiers alike.
One of the things that we need to improve at our level as well as 2 steps up.
Defeating the OPFOR is a prize coveted by many, but it's a goal that's rarely achieved. The hardest task facing the modern Army is getting soldiers and machines to strike in a massive but coordinated burst of power. A successful soldier is a soldier who follows standard operating procedure.
He's exactly right. Once we get our SOPs down and once we get the time to practice and rehearsal, then we'll have no problem. Okay?
Can an odor-free patch stand up to your back pain? That's your sweet Aspercream. Introducing new Aspercream Back and Body Patch. The first and only maximum strength patch with concentrated relief to knock out the pain without the medicine-y smell. Body pain stop. That's your sweet Aspercream.
It's the story no one's told before. The footage only a few have seen. The power and the horror. The danger and the savagery. The glory and the thunder of World War II. Now, for the first time, you can see it as it really happened in the clarity of DVD. It's the Century of Warfare World War II from Time Life, the ultimate visual record of the war preserved forever on DVD. You'll see rare combat footage taken from behind enemy lines. Be there at the key battles, seeing action you've never seen before. Pearl Harbor, the Blitz, Stalingrad, the Pacific Islands, Normandy, Hiroshima. You'll see it all, digitally remastered for the first time on DVD. Get the Century of Warfare World War II on 2 DVDs for just $49.99. But wait, call now with your credit card and you'll get an extra $20 off. That's 7 hours of gripping footage for just $29.99. See the whole picture, from the skies over Europe to the bloody South Pacific. No other World War II documentary takes you this close, with footage kept secret for over 50 years. Call now to get Century of Warfare World War II. More than 400 gripping minutes, including DVD footage taken from newly discovered sources for just $29.99. Make their story live forever. Call now for Century of Warfare World War II on DVD.
Call 1-800-306-1742 to order Century of Warfare on 2 DVDs for $29.99 plus shipping and handling when you use your credit card. Call now or order online at timelife.com.
On the Military Channel,
we don't consider ourselves heroes.
Experience conflict through the eyes of those who were there.
I'm so happy to be home. It's so good to be free.